Shawn Spears to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing just great, man. We got a couple rival radio shows calling into our show trying to cause problems, but we're not going to let it get us down. We've got a great interview planned with you, so why don't we go ahead and start?
Absolutely.
Definitely. I wanted to know, since your release from WWE, what have you been up to?
Well, actually, I broke my hand the week that I was released from WWE, so I had to take some time to let that heal. But now that that's on its last legs of the healing process, I'm ready to get back in the game here and just start training a little harder and pick up where I left off.
Definitely. What was it like being trained by current TNA star Eric Young?
Phenomenal. I mean, in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated wrestlers right now, probably in the world. He helped me out greatly in the early stages of my career. Actually, he gave me a place to stay, and he really helped dig in the psychology of pro wrestling. So he was a huge part of my career.
Definitely. Houston Jobber, go ahead.
Hey, John.
I'm sorry?
This is Houston Jobber. Great to be on it. I was wondering, I'm 2002 to work for Scott D'Amore.
Scott D'Amore.
Yes. Some of the rest.
I'm sorry.
Wrestlers who would have.
Let me go ahead and take this over here for you, Gavin. Around 2002, you worked with Scott D'Amore's Border Wrestling. How was it working with some of the guys like Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Robert Roode?
Oh, okay. There you go. Now I can hear you loud and clear. I worked for Border City. I was actually brought in by Scott at one of his bigger shows, which was a huge honor. I asked him if I could come down. He said, yes, come on down. It's not a problem. He actually put me on the show, and that's when I first got to meet guys like Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Robert Roode and things like that. And to work with some of those guys was a challenge. It forced me to bring up my game. I mean, these guys are some of the top athletes, in my opinion, right now out there. They're so fast, they're so crisp. And for me to get in the ring and work with them, it forced me to pick up my game, especially early on in my career. So I learned a great deal working with some of those guys.
Definitely.
How was Scott D'Amore as a promoter?
Scott was pro across the board with me. I never had any problems whatsoever. I mean, I would always call. He'd say, yep, come on in. He was straight up front with me. He's like, if I had a spot, great. If I don't, sorry. But, I mean, I've had nothing but good experiences with Scott D'Amore. He's been nothing but good to me.
Definitely. You also worked for WWE Hall of Famer Wild Samoan Afa's promotion, WXW in Pennsylvania. What was that like?
Afa's great. I mean, if you've ever met the guy or I've had the pleasure of meeting him, you know right off the bat that he's a fantastic individual. And actually a lot of people that work for him refer to him as Pops. So he's kind of like a father to a lot of the guys in the locker room. They look up to him. They respect him. And he actually invited me down, and I worked for him a little bit, and it was a great experience. He took care of me, set me up with rooming and housing, everything like that, and treated me just like I was one of his own, which is very rare nowadays, in my opinion. So
yeah, it was
a great experience.
Really is.
So
awesome.
But he actually has a little something running in Florida as well, and I've spoken with him about possibly doing some work from there, and he's like, it would be great to have. He's a very respectful man, a very, you can't help but admire the man. So it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to work for him, and I look forward to working with him in the future.
Awesome. What are your memories of defeating Simon Dean in your OVW debut?
I'll never forget that, only because it was quite a time for me. I hadn't been down in OVW that long at all, and I had the pleasure of getting in there with Simon. And he had a long history in OVW. He was one of the top stars there for a couple of years, and so it was quite a moment for me, and it was kind of getting my feet wet in OVW for the first time, and it was a great memory. I'll never forget that.
So when you're down in OVW, how was it working with Al Snow?
Al Snow is probably I'm going to say he's the best trainer I've ever trained under. I mean, there may be a lot of mixed reactions or whatever you've heard over time or whatnot, but I learned so much from that man that, I mean, he greatly influenced my career in terms of taking my time, psychology, working smarter, just everything from the top to the bottom in the world of professional wrestling, he tried to instill in all of his students there. And, I mean, I got nothing but the utmost respect for Al Snow. I mean, if anybody's out there listening right now that's looking to get into professional wrestling and he's doing a seminar or he's got his own school or he's doing his own training, I strongly, strongly suggest you get in there and ask questions. They'll answer any question that you'll have. That's what makes him such a great trainer.
I wanted to know whose idea was it to pair you up with Cody Rhodes in Ohio Valley Wrestling?
That was Al's idea. I had just come in. I was pretty much down in OVW. They didn't have a lot of other TV running. It was running very strong. I came in at a time where CM Punk was there. The Untouchables were there. There was a lot of great talent. The Miz was there. So I came in at a very good, high time for talent. They really didn't have a lot of ideas for me, and Cody was just fresh in there as well. So they saw two baby faces. They kind of put them together, and it kind of kicked off what turned out to be a great idea.
Definitely. While you were teaming with Cody, you actually had a feud with the Untouchables, a.k.a. Deuce and Domino. What was that feud like? What were your memories of it?
That was probably a 5-month-long angle that they were running there. And it was, for me, the best angle that I have been a part of. I've been very fortunate to be a part of great angles and work with great talent, but that was a great memory. I mean, if everything, the way it started, the way it turned out, everything culminated to one specific match, and that's the last match we had with the Untouchables, and that was probably my favorite time during most of my time in WWE.
Nice. Juice and Jobber, go ahead.
Are there plans to put the WWE Heavyweight title on you during your feud with Cody Rhodes?
We feuded for the television title, the OVW television title. There was a time when Cody did win the heavyweight title, but he lost it not long after that. But the majority of our feud was based over the OVW television title. Whether there were plans or not, I wasn't sure, but it got so personal at that time that I think a lot of titles took a second seat to the problems that he and I had.
Definitely.
Excellent. What are your memories of feuding with Colt Boom Boom Cabana, including your ladders match you guys had?
Well, like I was saying, I've been very blessed in the system from going to one great idea into another great idea with Cody, and then right from Cody, I went into another great angle with Colt Cabana. I mean, the guy I'm sure you've heard of him. I'm sure you've seen him work. He's the best at what he does, and he's one of the best guys I've ever had the pleasure of working with. That was also a great angle. It went, again, from maybe 6 to 8 months. He and I worked together, and it was it always made you step up. Every week, every idea that they had, every little detail in terms of the angle always made you step up and always made you think. And Cabana always makes you work hard. But everything did build up to that ladder match that we had, which, again, actually, like me and Cody had started, was about the tag team titles. So we had a lot of fun. And as far as I know, it was one of the first times that a ladder match was done between two partners for the tag team titles that were champions actually at the time. So in order to be a part of that, I mean, that was great in our match. It was a hell of a match.
What were your memories of you and Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, defeating the Puerto Rican Nightmares, Eddie Primo and Eric Perez, for the FCW tag titles?
That match was special because that was my first title that I achieved in Florida Championship Wrestling. So to me, that was a sign from, FCW management that they had some faith in me, they had some faith in my abilities. And Dolph is a fantastic entertainer. He knows we're along the lines mentally in terms of matches. We think the same, we move the same, and we we have an idea of what the other guy is planning on doing. So for management to have faith in us like that, it was a huge compliment and a pleasure. That was my first, as I said, my first title there in Florida.
Definitely.
Great. When you were brought up to the WWE roster, did you ever have the chance to meet Vince McMahon?
Yes, I met Vince on a couple occasions.
Nice.
What was he like as a person?
Vince was fine by me. I mean, the man's very, very busy. He's got 1.5 million things to do at once. So the time that I did get to see him, it was usually in between him going from one thing directly to another, or on the phone, or he's doing something. I don't know if he sleeps. He's that busy. But so he always looked me in the eye. Hello, nice to meet you. Shook my hand. He was always very pleasurable to meet in my experience.
Not a problem. When you're down at FCW, what was it like working with Steve Kerr?
Steve Kerr. I had the pleasure of meeting Steve on a couple occasions when he was still a producer in WWE. And from then, he was always great to me then. And when I got down to Florida, he was the same. Kern's a straight shooter. He'll tell you how it is. If you ask him a question, he'll be as honest to you as, if you don't want to hear an honest answer, then he's probably not the guy to ask, because he'll straight up shoot with you. And that's what I admire about Steve. That's what I respect about him. And that's why he's down in Florida helping the future talent, because he'll make sure it gets done and gets done right. Mm-hmm. So Kern was always great to work with. I would always ask him what he thought about my matches. He would sit down beside me. He'd pick out what he liked. He picked out what he didn't like. He picked out what I can improve on. So he was always he's instrumental in the system right now. He needs to be where he is right now, because the young talent, they need that. Mm-hmm. I need that. Everybody else out there would be fortunate to have him or learn under him at some point in their career.
Definitely. When you were up in WWE, do you know if the WWE had any big plans for you on the ECW brand?
I have no idea. I'm not sure. It happened kind of quickly in terms of the move up. They did a wave of talent that came in, the Talent Initiative, I believe it was called, and I was one of the first 2 or 3 to go up. But I had the opportunity. I was given the opportunity. So in terms of what they had planned, I'm not really 100% sure. A lot of that went on behind closed doors or whatnot, but I was given the opportunity, and I did the best I could with that opportunity.
Definitely, as you should have.
Right. So what was the best advice given to you during your WWE run, or in your entire wrestling career for that matter?
When I first broke in, the best experience that I got was to keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut. That's the best thing I could give to anybody who's either fresh into the business or looking to get into it. You have to listen. You have to learn. And you're not going to learn, but you're not going to be able to listen if you're talking at the same time. And then once I got into the WWE system, the best advice I got was to ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. It's never a dumb question. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was, and as minor as it may sound, you'd be surprised on how far that goes just by asking a simple question, what that can do in terms of your in-ring work or how you come across as a character or things of that nature. So one thing I would definitely say is ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask the top guys for questions, because they do want to help. You have to go seek them out.
I wanted to know, do you have a good memory or a road story or a rib that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Road story, ribs. Wow. Probably none that could be shared openly. But I had a lot of good experiences in my time with WWE. I wasn't up on the road for a great deal of time, but a lot of time I spent in the developmental system. There's a lot of great group of guys, and a lot of guys that were in developmental are up there now. And so we had a good little crew. We did have some fun, but probably nothing I can really put on the radio or on the internet at the moment. If I ever write a book, though, pick it up.
Excellent. Do you ever see yourself maybe going back to WWE or, going to TNA or Ring of Honor even?
I would definitely love to get back with WWE. I mean, in my opinion, it is it's the best company in the world to work for. I had a great. I have nothing to say negative about that company whatsoever. I would love to get back to that company. I'm going to keep pursuing wrestling one way or another, so I love Ring of Honor. I love what they do. I've been to a few of their shows. I think the production quality is great. And, I mean, they're only going to get better with the TV deal. Things are only going to take off for them. The same thing with TNA. They're putting out cable ratings. The ratings are climbing. It's only a matter of time before they take off as well. So wrestling right now is looking good across the front, in my opinion. I know the economy kind of is going to slow that down a little bit, but over time, I think you're going to see a very steady climb in professional wrestling across the board. So I'm definitely keeping my options open.
Definitely. Last thing I want to do with you is word association. I've got 4 names. I'm going to name, just say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay?
You want me to, you're going to name 4 names, and I'm going to say the first thing that comes to mind?
Yep, I'll name a name, you name, and then you give the first thing that comes to your mind. I got 4 names.
Sure.
Okay, Santino Marella.
Flamboyant.
Billy Kidman.
Dedicated.
Dusty Rhodes.
The Master.
And last but not least, Norman Smiley.
I love that guy. I know that's not one word, but I love that guy.
Well, we'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
If I had to break down one word, it'd be passionate.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, man. I had a great time, and it was a pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much.
So, take care.